Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550.
Ah. Hello and welcome everyone to some Titan Gladiator League action. Don't mind the intro there, not quite displaying the correct league, but either way, I mean, just as the point it is, in fact, the Gladiator League. I'm Isaac, joining me tonight is Fel for this matchup between Dropping Point Spartans and Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity, two teams that are Dropping Point Spartans really don't need much of an introduction, do they? 7-0 in the regular season, Phil.
Yeah, they've been absolutely dominating. I was able to cast both of these teams. Both of these teams won when I cast, so they both looked really good. Can't say much for DPS because they keep swapping up their bot lane. But yeah, they've basically just been absolutely dominating everybody, including the Belmonts. So like this series is looking like a David versus Goliath situation. JRCC has been kind of like back and forth the entire season. You know, look really good in their wins. They don't look that great in their losses. So but it's the playoffs. They're both 0-0. They're ready to go. It's a best of 5, and we'll see how deep the champ pools are for DPS coming up here. As IBSG Fearless, best of 5, anything can happen. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I've been brought in on a little bit of a short notice for this one, but for the case of Dropping Point Spartans, when we were given like the rosters ahead of time and getting able to run over this one, I'm at the very least familiar with Rapid Sammy's game as well as Zero's, but Rapid Sammy, especially on the Pantheon and the Xin Xiao, this guy plays all the meta junglers. I think that's less so of a meta farming sort of situation. It's just it just so happens that his favorite champs are the ones that are really strong right now, so I think that really helps out a lot. But yeah, no, Rapid Sammy and Zero specifically are ones that I've seen before. I'm familiar with their game, and it's definitely really scary.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Renegade's been an unsung hero for this team as well.
Oh,
They've
Kitty.
yeah, no, he's a pain.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, Renegade's also been an unsung hero for these guys. Just constantly, just putting out strong performances. Not the best mid laner by any rankings, but just like very reliable. Good job working with his jungle and his top laner to just eventually get in and carry these games. And yeah, Rapid Sammy loves the engaged champions. They're super strong right now. The sort of green Amumu, Sejuani, those things, even Nautilus, as we were seeing earlier on in the season, have kind of fallen off, and it's given way to the Xin Xiaos, the Pantheons, the Vi's. So I expect to see a lot of tempo pushing from DPS early on, and I expect them to use that to just kind of snowball, because their late game and team fighting is no joke either.
Yeah, and as we get through the first round of bans, Diana, Misfortune, Varus, Braum, Pantheon, and Morgana are all going to be off the board. So a bit of a target from the ADCs from the side of DPS, and as a response, they'll pick one up for themselves in the first pick. Zero, sorry, not Zero, that's Suits. And either way, they go with Ashe. Ashe is their first pick. They picked ADC as their first choice, and so the response will be the Caitlyn getting himself that extra range to go into this Ashe.
Yeah, and I love both of these. Even though Caitlyn kind of Ashe is sort of a counter to Caitlyn, able to kind of match poke with the W, a lot of slows, and then obviously the late game utility with the ultimate, able to start fights from forever away, maybe get like a lucky lockdown, something like that from across the map. Meanwhile, Caitlyn just likes to be a lane bully, and Ashe kind of negates that. So I'm interested in JRCC. Kiddick is picking this up here for himself, but Caitlyn, once she gets 4 items, like, doesn't matter how many slows you have, if you're getting 1 shot, maybe 1.5 shot by this Caitlyn, then it might not matter. The Jarvan is picked up for King Vivi in the jungle for JRCC, and the response is the Wukong and the Yone. So they want to dive, and Lucifer on the Echo. I like this pickup as well. A lot of counter engage on the side of JRCC.
Yeah, it's not a pick we see very often these days, but I mean, obviously you can just press R and say nah with the amount of burst, especially coming out from the Yone as time goes on. But also, as you mentioned, the ability to just kind of deny the option to go, and you press W, and then any attempts that you have at running forward are completely negated. So even though it's a bit unorthodox these days and a bit Yeah, not very common. I do like this adaptation from JRCC, but as we get through the second round of bans, Camille, Blitzcrank, Poppy, and Malphite are all going to be unavailable.
Yeah, and then the Orns picked up right away too, so they're automatically just going for a neutralizing lane. I know that we have seen in a little bit of these quarterfinals the Orn support, but I don't think we'll see that. However, I mean, saving your support for R5, I guess if the other side's saving their support for B5, then it makes sense. You want a good counter matchup. But yeah, I think here too, like the meta doesn't really matter as much. You know, comfort and the ability to lock down and a ton of CC are always what I like to preach on these casts, to just say, hey, this is plat and below. The people you're playing aren't going to be able to avoid every single thing you have. And oh my god, this is a tanky T with a lot of disengage or re-engage on the side of JRCC. I absolutely love their draft here. Caitlyn's going to be able to play as safe as she can, you know, just with her innate range. You have the Jarvan and Echo to be in the backline causing chaos, or to try to help, you know, peel here. And then obviously the Galio, engage, disengage, good matchup into the Nautilus. It's going to be a battle of like who can withstand and take those extended trades in the bot lane and get themselves ahead. But yeah, and then obviously Silas in the mid lane on Renegade is going to be a monster to deal with. And I like that they sent the Yone up top on Zero. He's got really good fingers for champions like this. And, you know, TDD, no slouch himself in the top lane, is going to be able to hopefully, you know, be able to negate this. I think the biggest problem for either of these guys is going to be the jungle pressure and what they get, because King Vivi and Rapid, they both like to go top. And that's where I expect to see most of the pressure coming early and often.
Yeah, and this top lane, though it can definitely be a little bit calm if Zero does, well, kind of just do the things that he does that I've seen plenty of times in the past, could definitely start to get out of hand with this Yone as well, because in the side lanes it becomes very difficult to answer. You could consider maybe that Lucifer on the Echo should be able to step up to it a little bit, but like I said, especially if Zero starts to run away with these games like I know he can do, it's where, I mean, all of our eyes are going to be specifically on this player in general, giving him these carry champions that he can pop off on, like the Yone and the even he's known for Kinnan as well. These sort of like take over the sort of game type of champions. It's always fun to see, but yeah, we are now on to it for game one. We'll have to wait and see if Zero can keep up his current run of form, or if JRCC have an answer. And speaking of this JRCC team, this is another team that, at least in terms of Oregon name-wise, I've become a little bit familiar with in the past in a few of my casts, but Rexmus is the only remaining member on this JRCC team, so even though it's a bit similar in name, the actual like playing staff is a bit different. This is, of course, assuming that everybody's names are the same and there weren't any name changes, because I was actually a bit surprised to see that Zero's username wasn't Zero when I last casted him on these, and so it's a bit, it's kind of a bit of a surprise. So obviously, let's wait and see. Before he gets to that, Absconda ducked over the wall onto Lucifer, gets a flash away from the Echo immediately, and that is indeed very rough for the mid laner of JRCC.
Yeah, and they get the vision that they want to, and they protect the vision on the bottom side here too. So all we see is two wards over on the red team side here. Is Rexmus is going to get one here, but he's going to take a lot of poke from the Ashe. Hopefully able to get away here, but now Zero's kind of caught out a little bit between King Vivi. It looks like Vivi's going to try to harass this jungler just a little bit, or he's going to have to, you know, deal with TDD in the top lane as he, you know, tries to get a little bit of fighting going on here. But not too much. Is yeah, the hooks in the bot lane are going to start coming out. Vicious trying to be aggressive on this Nautilus, and if you can get Galio low, I guess kind of in the same vein that if you get you know, Nautilus low, then these engages that they want to take and this aggressive playstyle that they both want to do really gets negated, and it's very hard to play a squishy tank in the bot lane.
Yeah, Nautilus does. Wait, before we get to talk about Nautilus, Renegade looking to go in himself. Actually, might have gotten a little bit too far. Going to have a flash away from Lucifer, despite the summoner spell advantage here in the mid lane, completely negated at level 2 by Lucifer. But hold on, Renegade, he's getting a little bit feisty here with a few of these absconds, going right into the range of Lucifer, who's slowly whittling him away in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think Lucifer's, you know, he's probably heard all the talk about how good Renegade is and all of this throughout the week, and he's probably tired of hearing it. He's like, hey, I'm a good mid laner too, so let me show off my skills. I picked the Echo because it's one of my comfort champs, and you know, that's one thing that I really like to see here in this first game is for people to get on these super comfortable picks and try to get themselves going. Yeah, I mean, TDD on this Ornn is trading well so far with 0. We'll see how that shakes out in the end. You know, there's big CS gap here to start it off, but holding his own.
Yeah, and Renegade will eventually start to heal back up as well. So a little bit calm for now, at least now in the moments. The target is probably in the mid lane, considering neither of these players have flash available to them, making them very, well, not necessarily immobile, because they do have dashes built into their kit, but definitely very juicy targets for both Rapid Sammy and King Vivian, which Rapid Sammy will be spotted out on ward. Lucifer will know he's here, but he's staying around maybe a little bit too long. The knockup from the Abduct finds its way down. Parallel conversions, not going to get the shield in time, and First Bloods go the way of DPS.
I was ready to sing the praises of Lucifer on that ward, because that was such a perfect placement of the ward. You see anything that's coming, and Wukong, as we know, very sneaky, able to go through walls with his W and just you know, use his clone to increase his mobility and his you know, like, I guess his sneakiness. It's almost stealthy. Yeah,
he could take very unorthodox routes, very surprising angles.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of surprised that he got caught on that when he had the perfect ward to kind of see that. So he's gonna be wishing he had that play back here.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit too overconfident on the Echo. We know he did have access to that parallel convergence, did opt to use it to try to, you know, buy him some time and turn things around, be able to trade back that kill. Obviously didn't quite work out the way he would have liked, but still sitting relatively even in terms of the farm. But a place that really isn't is up in that top lane. 0 now up around 14 CS over the Ornn, which is, well, to be expected in this specific matchup. Speaking of parallel conversions, Abduct is the thing that you can do to get out of the way of that.
Yeah, and I think you know, another thing that I'm kind of perplexed by is these jungles both deciding to path top to bot. I thought that once they saw that
Olivia's gone into the Abduct, finds a knockup onto Lucifer. Takes him a little bit lower, but we're good for now.
Yeah, as I was saying, like, I'm kind of surprised that once Rapid Sammy saw that the Jarvan was starting on the top side, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't go from bot to top to try to get 0 ahead. Also on the same side, I'm surprised King Vivi didn't try to go from bot to top in the first place to try to kind of stall this out and get his Ornn a little bit, you know, of a lead, or at least, you know, try to push 0 off here. So a little weird, but it does look like they are trying to you know, get this bot lane ready and primed for a dragon fight, as they're getting a little bit of a good invade here.
Yeah, Rapid Sammy does know where King Vivi is. He saw him from the brush earlier. Reximus now the target of DPS, taking him down to half HP now, having to flash away on the Galio. But now the flag drag comes through, tries to find its way onto Spirit, who does manage to kite away, gets the slows onto King Vivi, who gets a flash in response. Ooh, Dredgeline not quite finding King Vivi from Vicious, but still a really good response from DPS. But the flag drag trying to find its way onto Spirit is audacious. I respect the attempt from King Vivi to try to get the kill, but won't quite find the mark.
Yeah, I think once his flash was burned, maybe try to throw that play away and say, okay, like, we didn't get it. We didn't get what we wanted, but you know, like you said, points for trying. You want to be aggressive. You want to try to get, you know, some sort of tempo sway or a lead, and that would have been a perfect opportunity to do it. But Spirit still had barrier up, so I think he was probably going to be alive anyways for that play. So a little bit of an overstep from King Vivi on this Jarvan. Maybe just first game jitters coming out.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get a little bit short-sighted because it's a bit of a case of even if King Vivi does find that kill, he's going to be traded back anyway, and with Drake up, the resulting aftermath is basically the same. And so, like, the amount of gain you get from attempting it from what you lost out on this time around, not really worth it. And in fact, it did not go the way of JRCC. So DPS now at around 1k gold relatively early on. And they look to try to press that advantage, a lot of which is probably in this top lane on Zero, who has now expanded that CS advantage a little bit further.
Yeah, and I'm a little perplexed by the Warden's Mail first purchase from the Ornn. I would think that maybe you'd want to go with a uh, Bramble Vest to try to, negate some of this free healing that Zero's going to be getting off of the Vamp Scepter, but it is going to block a lot of damage, and it is going to, kind of keep him a little bit healthier, maybe a little less damage, but I would kind of want to see, try to be a little more aggressive with that and try to get the heal cut in, as now DPS is starting up on these grubs. There's no vision on it, but JRCC, I think they realize it anyways, and they're going for the dragon here. So I like the cross map play by them, knowing that they're behind in the team fights early on, that they just try to wait this out and then get the dragon when they can.
Yeah, and also it's a really good heads up play from JRCC to know that, like, despite how that previous fight around the Drake went, that hold on, speaking of JRCC, King Vivi is going to try to find a straggling Vicious who will use the dredge line to get out, so won't have a way to go back in as Renegade was arriving there. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, a very good heads up play from JRCC, because how the last dragon fight went, sometimes it's easy to lose track of how things have gone, to kind of slightly mental boom a little bit and say, oh, we lost the fight, so we lost the objective. But before we talk about the fights, Lucifer opting to go in again when he shield himself up with the parallel convergence and be all right and from any return damage from Renegade.
Yeah, and I think he's just trying to get his... Oh, I thought he was just trying to get the wave in a good state to back here, but no, he wants to fight this. Trying to push Renegade around a little bit and, use that Halo Blades advantage when it's up, but now he takes the back from there as expected, so...
Yeah, he pushed his luck quite a bit, though. Maybe didn't have to use the Chrono Break, but opted to use it out of safety to be able to get away and refill his health just in case. But Dredgeline now drops down onto Rexmus, but that might be a bit ill-advised. It's not quite finding its way onto Spirits. Could have been a potentially big moment, but instead, Rexmus takes a lot of damage back from Spirit.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing a Jarvan maybe flash Flag and Dragon to a Cataclysm here, and Reximus just ulting on top of him, but they're going to opt not for the gank, even though he wasn't spotted out by any vision or anything. So I feel like maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity for an easy play here on a flashless Ashe, but it happens, and I think maybe they're just a little timid. They don't want to give away a third kill and just give the feats away just yet. They could still try to play for first turret and for the dragon slay or monster slaying. So
yeah, the objectives one.
Yeah. So I think even though it was there, if you don't die, then it's not a terrible play, and they didn't really give anything up for it either. So
I mean, you talk about the ideal play, but Flag Drag, speaking of, trying to find its way onto Zero, who has to flash himself. But he does get quite a few plates in the process, all the while in the mid lane. Lucifer getting wailed way down on Renegade, who really nice trade.
Yeah, Renegade, I think, just got his health back from using his using Echo's ultimate, on him. So when you have that ultimate up and it's on a timer, it's not like Echo where he needs to use it and get in or out safely. It's gonna run out anyways. Might as well use it. So go for a quick trade and then get it in there.
Yeah, heal back Lucifer as well. It's going to be all right in the meantime. All the while, even though not a lot of blood has been spilled, which is a really, really surprising situation. Talk about a gold level game that we've only had 2 kills in 12 minutes. It's been passively going the way of DPS as we check in again on the gold lead. It's still ever expanding now up to 2K at the 12-minute mark now. Actually, there's a slight delay in terms of what we hear and what gets shown on broadcast, so perhaps that was a little bit late. Either way, point still remains. DPS still all right with how things are going, despite how a bit, I don't want to say dull, it might be a bit too harsh of a game, at least comparatively for IBSG sort of situations. But this has in fact been honestly, yeah, a relatively slow game. Neither team's really been looking to push the envelope too much.
Yeah, and what I really love is that like their gold lead isn't just from kills, like as you were saying. Oh, as Lucifer might be
Oh, where it's at. Lucifer could be in trouble. Going to have to flash away, but it won't quite matter. The Chrono Break is opted away, but that's going to the wrong side of the map. Won't matter. Renegade picks up the 3rd kill of the game for DPS. Actually, King Vivi, what do you keep, hello?
Nope.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird odd play there from JRCC. I mean, your mid laner just died and did everything that he could to try to stay alive, but they knew exactly where his revive was going to end up going.
Wait, hold on. Call the Forge God will be summoned up. Won't quite hit the mark, with Zero still taking a ton of damage in return, but not without taking TDD very low and now under tower. How can TDD manage this one? Clears out the wave, and I think both these top laners should be okay for now. Zero, he's a very aggressive player, though. Won't quite give this one up, and JRCC know this. They're sitting everybody top just in case.
Yeah, and they don't want to give this up. This is first turret. This is one of the feats of strength that can come out of this.
Oh, Zero's going to have to snap back after using his W, so there's nowhere to go on this Yone. King Vivi gets JRCC on the board.
Yeah, just a good heads up play. I mean, everybody saw that coming except for Zero. Unfortunately, he was just trying to get that turret to guarantee the feats of strength. They do end up getting the dragon in return on the other side of the play. So cross map plays always good to see, especially in these leagues. So good job by them. And now it looks like they're going to be trying to dive this Caitlyn.
Talking about cross map plays, yeah. Not only did they go for the tower, but the Caitlyn will be next in the eyes of DPS. The amount of CC find its way onto Kitticus. Doesn't matter how much space he buys for himself, how far back he retreats. He's chased down all the same. That's a 5th kill of the game for DPS.
Yeah, and that's the power of having the Ashe to get that.
Spirit? Okay. He looked like he was walking at Reximus a little too close there. But he's fine. He's fine. It's all right. We're chill.
Yeah, and Nautilus not taking that tower shot there is that's malfeasance almost, like you got to get your ADC out of there, and there's no reason that he couldn't take a turret shot or two.
Lucifer does have access to the Chrono Break, will use it, but Vicious will use the Hex Flash to get over the wall, and now Spirit has arrived. Hero's entrance will buy some time, gets the knock up onto 2 for King VV to arrive, but there's no damage in the composition of JRCC that is in and around this fight. King VV going forward, finds a flag drag onto the Ashe, all the while Kitticus got a kill onto Nautilus. The ace in the hole will set up the double kill for Kitticus, and King Vivi all the while will trade his life back at the very least. This fight's not done just yet. Actually, I tell a lie. They back away. A bit of a caster curse, but we're straight up to the top lane. Zero doing his best to brawl out here onto TDD. Will get the shield from the Q, but it's not quite enough. TDD gets a solo kill onto Zero.
Yeah, and that is the second time now that Zero has actually timed that perfectly, that as the Ornn is trying to charge up into his forge, like he ults as well, and then it completely negates it, but I think he was just a hair too late on that one, and although he didn't take the knock up, he did end up taking the damage there, so almost played that perfectly, but Ornn showing it, or TDD showing that like he can pilot this Ornn pretty well into one of the best top laners in the league and actually trade back now. Obviously he's losing the wave and loses all 4 platings, and Zero is so far ahead, has the Bork now, but Ornn with a little bit cheaper inventory to buy with the Frozen Heart and the Bramble Vest is trading just fine here, and is doing a very good job at negating this top lane.
Yeah, and I mean, Ornn also just generally one of the best team fighters in the game. Yeah, call him the Forge God, one of the best things, keeping him up and available and alive to be able to go through these fights. can be a very big disruptive force. Obviously, JRCC are going to need a little bit more to be able to get back into this one, as they are now sitting down around 3k gold. But it's far from over, and certainly TDD on the Sorn being quite all right. But with the Rift Herald picked up, DPS are one objective away from. Oh no, they already picked up the tower, so they've got the fancy boots. I stand corrected. Either way, they do get the Rift Herald. It still can be used potentially on the bot lane tower, which is yet to go down. At least the tier 1 is, or maybe crack open a few of these tier 2s, which these days, tier 2 towers, man, they give so much gold.
Oh, they do. And what I would love to see too is maybe one of these pilots taking one into the tower, taking it to another lane, getting a second tower, and getting that double huge pressure that we keep seeing from people. And I mean, it happens every time that the enemy gets the rift on my solo game, so why can't we see it here, right? So I wouldn't mind seeing that, maybe use it in the bot lane and then transferring that over into a mid create pressure, or they may just save it to create the mid pressure and drop it there over the next dragon fight and try to get like a little ahead here for the side of DPS with this rift.
The next Drake, which is coming up in 40 seconds, could be a potential option, as you said, for that Rift Herald. Not only to be able to get that gold, but also to get priority. But luckily, with that tier 1 tower already down for DPS, they can push in a bit further. They have a lot more access and escape routes throughout the JRCC jungle to be able to push up and ensure that JRCC are on the back foot for this next dragon fight, which, considering how we're starting to move around for it, doesn't look like JRCC wants to give this one up necessarily without at least poking and prodding to maybe try to find a way in. But it's definitely be quite difficult with how much priority DPS has for this Drake. And with that said, it's started up by DPS right now. See how King Vivi moves. There's not really a lot of his team members nearby to be able to follow up on this control ward. It is the target of the abduct. Cataclysm from Renegade will be used onto the Jarvan, killed by his own ultimate, and the CC from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. There is nowhere to go for King Vivi. That will be the Drake and a kill going in the way of DPS.
Yeah, and they did exactly what we were just talking about, where they drop the rift into the mid, they create a little bit of pressure there, have their other two members sitting there, Zero coming down with the teleport up, ready to go, and as soon as the dragon is done, they get the kill is done on the Jarvan, teleports right back up to the top and saves his top lane from coming.
Lucifer's in trouble. Does have access to the chrono break should he choose to use it. Is instead just going to walk away from the tower, and so straight up to the top lane, Reximus and TDD. They just look at each other and then they go back to farming up.
Yeah, they do get the ultimate out of the Yone, so that's a big disengage for him, or a re-engage if the rest of his team ends up showing up here. So not a complete loss, and especially with Otacon, being the next target, and it looks like JRCC want to try to set their eyes on that. Zero not having the Yone ult might actually be a huge deal if they can start it now, but it looks like they're just kind of backing over vision and resetting here.
Luckily, Yone's ult, that Fate Sealed, is not all that long. It's already halfway down off of cooldown, so it doesn't look like JRCC can really push for this Otacon so early. As you mentioned, it kind of was their window, but now TPS has arrived, so it's back to farming. We go back around, wait around, and this Otacon is the only thing up and on the map, so we'll take its moment to update you. It's about 4.5k. Well, okay, right. Say that King View is going to have to flag drag away from Rapid Sammy. And we'll be able to get out, but all the while, it's kind of a little bit of a microcosm of how this game has gone, really. DPS look to take the space, and JRCC really can't do much to answer it.
No, they can't, but, that's more ultimates, burned, and now the Yone ult, so it's the Fate Sealed back in the pocket of Zero, but now the Nautilus ultimate is down. So if they can maybe get one more ult that they want out of the team fight, with everybody kind of hovering up here, maybe that'll be their window to sort of engage on top of DPS, take a good 3v3 or 4v4 skirmish without the ultimates, and then get that kill and then get over to Otacon. But as we were saying before, like the window of opportunity keeps it opens, but then it closes really quickly on JRCC to try to make this play and get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, and so quickly as it looked like there was a potential opportunity for JRCC to try to find a fight to turn this game around, it quickly goes the other way. DPS moves straight onto the Otacon. Do JRCC know? This is the question. Do they know that this is... It doesn't look like they do. King Vivi's on the opposite side of the map. And yeah, that's a free Otacon for DPS.
Yeah, I don't like that call from JRCC to just reset and then move around. Like, you got to fight for something. You have the Ornn passive, which is going to upgrade everybody's items. That's a lot of money in passive stacks. The Otacon would have been almost, if not just as strong for them here. And now they're kind of on the back foot here, but they are targeting Zero. But I think he's just going to get away. But yeah, they had so many opportunities to take that Otacon or take a good fight before the Otacon is... Zero just loves being in no man's land here.
Yeah, there's don't really not a lot of place for Zero to go. Stuffs have access to the Fate Sealed we use to get over the wall alongside the Flash, but the flash forward from King Vivi in response. He takes so much damage in return. Hold on. Call an ambulance for not for me. He's trapped in the Cataclysm with Zero. They will manage to trade the kill back in return, but Rapid Sammy finds his way onto the back line, taking down Kitticus. No more Caitlyn. Not a lot of damage left for the side of DPS, especially with Lucifer on the wrong side of the map, trying to find a way back to this one. Reximus going out to flash over the wall to escape. DPS find a good response for losing Zero.
Yeah, and tunnel vision is such a killer in these games. I don't hate the aggression from King Vivi there to try to get that kill. He thought that Yone was dead, but he forgets that this is an IE Bork, Yone that Zero is piloting, and just a little bit too late to be hitting that. I think once you get him out and his flash and his ult are gone, like, just let it go, man. And then at the same time, the rest of the team just sort of dialed in, and they were sitting in an open space with no vision around them, and DPS just take full advantage of that. The Wukong getting on top of Kitticus on this Caitlyn was just killer, basically zeroed them out, and yeah, just no answer for them, as now they're just going to lose another objective, and it seems like the walls are just slowly closing in on the opportunities for JRCC to come back in this game.
Yeah, the performance so far from DPS for the most part, of course, right as I say that, Vicious is going to have to flash away, use the dredge line as well to hightail it out of here, but it does buy time for Rapid Sammy to be able to get DPS on the soul point. So other than that little moment, for the most part, the performance from DPS really feels like that of a boa constrictor slowly choking out its prey. And no, it's not exactly been the most bloody affair, especially by gold standards. It's certainly been a dominant one from DPS, as JRCC really just been unable to find a response for anything DPS throws their way.
Yeah, and I really like the way that they're playing this game too. Like, they're not overcommitting. They're not being shy about taking the fights that they know they're going to win. They're basically playing the 55 and up rule, where, if the play has a 55% chance to win, it's a good play, and then it's just coming down to mechanics, and their mechanics have been pretty solid so far as well. So despite a few one-on-one little things as they're taking up this Baron here and getting this for basically free.
Yeah, it will be.
They've been making
Vivi's on the opposite side of the map.
They've been making all of the right decisions, and they're playing this game on a clean macro level, and I love that. You love to see that kind of stuff. Maybe it's not the most exciting thing for you to cast, because you're not talking as much, but it's just clean. It's just clean game, and that's just kind of the way that it goes when you have a team that is well oiled like this. That you're gonna get these kind of games, and it is nice to see. And yes, it is completely against what we normally see in Plat and below, as Ornn is going to try to start this off.
The Ornn Horn is summoned up, called out onto Zero. Lucifer doing his best to chunk the damage down onto this Yone, and finally the rest of JRCC arrive. They collapse onto Zero. They get the kill, but the response from DPS is to push straight into the mid lane, try to take down this mid lane tier 3. I believe they'll be able to get it, but perhaps at what cost? King Vivi has arrived. Flag Drag not going to quite find his way onto Spirit, but the Cataclysm does. Hero entrance won't quite hit the Ashe, So now Vicious will do his best to buy time for Rapid Sammy to arrive, as well as Renegade. Lucifer manages to get the kill onto the Ashe, but Kitticus is the response for DPS. Can Renegade find the kill? The Abduct's not going to hit the mark. The Kingslayer does close the gap, but all the while a double kill goes the way of Lucifer. The Renegade is able to trade one kill back. What can Rapid Sammy and Renegade do with no ults available? Renegade gets away, finds bounce Lucifer. No more Chrono Break as he used that to heal back up to try to close the gap onto Renegade himself. But Lucifer is out, and Renegade finally does a big burst of damage down onto the Galio. Or it's not long for the world. TDD does his best to buy time, but my goodness, the amount of healing from the Kingslayer that Renegade has keeps him alive. He's got the damage. It buys enough time for Zero to respawn and teleport in, and so now there's only 2 members of JRCC left to stop the final push of DPS. Renegade uses the Abduct down onto Lucifer, won't be able to get away. Kitticus, neither will be able to get away, and yeah, that's, I mean, finally we get one big fight, but one big fight is all DPS needs to take game 1 here.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you have a pretty farmed, not super fed, but, you know, farmed up Silas. He hit the Riftmaker and the Conqueror, and once that fight hits the Conqueror stacks and they take, you know, like 8 seconds to fall off, like, he literally just stayed in combat that whole time. So not only when he's, you know, using his W to heal up, he's also healing up off of every single other thing that he's doing, and just really good job at the end there to just leave no doubt, close that out. If they were slow or quick death timers, you know, as we saw that, you know, Kitticus had died under the tier 2 and then was up again before the end. So, like, he just literally put that team on his back at the end there and was just like, don't worry, boys, we got game 1, let's go. And really, really clean game from DPS on game 1 here to just showcase that they know how to macro.
Yeah, it was a very just controlled performance from DPS to be able to take game 1. I think that will conclude it here, at least the first game. We're going to be heading to draft of game 2 when we come back from this break, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few short moments. And we're back with more Titan Gladiator League action. Just because the graphic might say Divinity, it is in fact Gladiator League, in which Dropping Point Spartans are up 1-0 in this series over Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity in what was a relatively dominant, but maybe dominant and controlled fashion is the way I'd describe it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'd almost be wary of, like, did DPS have their coach in their ears the whole time, being like, no, back off here, no, go here, because they played that like so clean. There was a couple times where Zero got caught out, but that time it had, you know, it was already too late, and I expect a much better performance out of him this game, because I think that he sort of underperformed. And unfortunately for TDD, that's a wasted Ornn pick, because this is Fearless and you're not going to be able to play that again. He piloted that champ really well, did a great job neutralizing that lane. Obviously, the lane's going to push in. You're going to lose, the wave states and your tower first, especially since there's no jungle there. But JRCC, I want to see more succinct calls, and I want to see them actually commit to them, because there were so many times where they were like, we have an ability to go in and go, and they just didn't. One of the last team fights before the ending there, Jarvan goes in, gets on top of the Ashe, cataclysms, and then Galio waits for her to flash before he hits his ult. So like, just the timing, maybe it's first game jitters, I don't know, but the timing needs to be wound up and succinct, and then the plays that they want to make, just go and make them, man. Stop holding back, because it was killing you in game one.
There were also like a few times earlier on where it looked a little bit questionable, where King Vivi, I think specifically one that lives in my mind, just arrived at the bot lane, and Spirit had no flash, and it looked like such a potentially easy gank that when you have flash on the Jarvan as well, to just go over, flag, drag, and then make sure that Ashe can't go anywhere, and then they just kind of held back on it. So perhaps a few of those first game jitters. It is, and you are up against the Dropping Point Spartans team, who were undefeated in their group as one of the best teams, one of the favorites to win the whole thing. It sometimes can get yourself in your own heads a little bit, but if they can make those adjustments, it's not certainly over by any extent of the imagination, any stretch of the. I confused two sayings together, flipped around. Either way, point is, there's still plenty of opportunities for JRCC to be able to come back into this one, and you don't get any bonus points in these long series for winning games in more dominant fashions than others. So, there's still I trust that JRCC could definitely perhaps make a few adjustments and be able to come back into this one, as we're waiting for draft to begin here in just a few moments. It's taking a little bit longer than perhaps previously expected. So yeah, going over that one, you mentioned Zero, perhaps not exactly up to the level that we really expected them in that last game in particular, at least not throughout all of it. But someone who definitely was Rapid Sammy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the jungle control of that, getting the good flanks in, everything. And even when, taking advantage of other people's mistakes, right? Like we talked about it in the first gank that he did for Renegade. Lucifer was actually winning that matchup on the Echo. Rapid Sammy comes right over a ward that Lucifer sees, and he still gets the kill, because they were on point with what they wanted to do. He didn't know he was on vision, so they're going to make the play anyways. But, taking advantage of other people's mistakes, and then everywhere where the objectives were to be had, Rapid Semi was there, using Vicious as well on the Nautilus to get the vision and get the control of everything, and then coming in with the flanks, getting on top of Kitikis. Like, that Caitlyn was not safe. A little bit that has to deal with JRCC being a little tunnel visioned on who they're trying to kill, but still, good job from him. And yeah, I agree with your shout out for him. Between him and Renegade, they completely took over that game.
Yeah, and so they'll be looking to do the same thing here in game two. But speaking of game two, JRCC going to opt to stay on the red side this time around. So I don't suspect most of these bans will change. And considering how we started out, both the Morgana and the Diana being taken away. Oh, okay, we've got to change this time around. Leona will be the takeaway from DPS.
Yeah, maybe they just maybe they're planning on playing Mel or something. And they just don't want it to counter it, or they know that there's specific bans or champions that JRCC is going to try to like whittle their way into by giving one prio pick and then taking the next two away. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. But the rail ban coming out, it looks like they're trying to keep these engage supports away from the hands of Reximus, who did a decent job on the Galio. So maybe they just saw that and were like, yeah, we don't want to deal with that. Maybe we want to get an immobile ADC like a Jinx or something that we just don't want to have, you know, jumped on by the support early on.
Oh, well, I mean, look at that. Right on command. Oh my gosh. Now, see, this is a guy who knows ball. Right on cue, DPS lock in the Jinx, but in terms of champions that were banned away by DPS the first time around, Misfortune was one of them, and since it's available, JRCC are going to pick up a champion that clearly they've wanted a lot.
Yeah, and I want to see some lockdown here. Okay, I love Taric as a support, or as a jungle. Shout out to Light Rocket. I do love Taric as a support here, but I usually like him as a counter pick. I want them to pick the Alistar. I want them to pick the Thresh or something like that, to where he does a really good job into that. If they pick a range support here, which I 100% expect a Lulu or something to give the age. Oh my god,
Look at this.
I promise I didn't look at this before. Now the Taric is, like, they're gonna have to count on Vicious or Spirit to like walk up into melee range for this. So the Xin Shao does kind of play into it, but yeah, it's a hard champion to pilot and to manage the mana, and when you're in a range matchup in the bot lane, it feels so and it's just not going to be able to give Misfortune the kind of lockdown that she needs to be able to get the bullet time off, to get the everybody stuck inside, and to have the double tap hit everybody. So kind of very strong pick, but it is easily countered. Kind of like, you know, when they pick Swain and there's all of a sudden there's 5 range champs on the other team that just stay away. So the ban's coming out. They don't want to see the Zed or the Hui. I don't blame them. If Renegade can play Hui anywhere close to how well he can play Sylas, I don't want to see him on that either. And then the Sentinel LeBlanc. So no specific laner being tagged out here just yet, as Lucifer's going to pick up the Ahri. I like that pick. It's safe, but it has a hard time trying to take over these games. And if they throw an Ori in there, since that wasn't banned, to kind of go along with the Xin Shao, this could be a very messy game for JRCC.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a mishmash of champs getting locked through. At the very least,
There's the Mel.
The Viego Ahri like combo can look to really like blow open games quite early with a lot of single target CC and early damage that can start to turn things around. But the Mela's response specifically does do a lot with these single target CC options that they could just rebuttal back away. And speaking of rebuttaling things away, the explosive cast from Gragas that JRCC pick up for themselves is also another one of those that could definitely cause a few problems.
Yeah,
sending it back the other way.
It's such a weird interaction with the Gragas barrel, because it doesn't actually hit. It's so weird, but I love to see it, and I actually really like TDD picking up this Gragas into the Scion. I want to see King Vivi start from the bot side and go to top, or clear his Raptors into red, into Grubs, and then, whatever, into the top lane. Like, get some pressure onto Zero quickly, get your Gragas ahead, get him the ability to buy a Dark Seal or something against the Scion, and like put the game in his hands, because we saw he can fight against Zero. He can do his job. He can do well. So I want to see some action sent over to the top lane here early on from JRCC if they want to win this game.
Yeah, and speaking of Zero on the Scion, he can definitely become a little bit unbearable if he's given free reign up there in the top lane uncontested. Because, I mean, not always it's just Scion things. But not only is it that, there's not a lot of members. Oh, wait, before we get to that, Reximus could be in a little bit of trouble. Has yet to flash, so is instead opting to just walk away, probably going to recall, be all right with things. But getting back to the Scion specifically, if he's allowed to just do his own thing and be able to scale up on his W passive, there aren't really any members of JRCC who could easily cut down the Scion.
No, it's gonna have to be locking him down with the Taric stun, something like that, and then like a make it rain. Like if Kidicus gets ahead on this MF, or not Mega Rain, bullet time. Like, if she gets ahead on this MF, she will be able to deal a lot of damage. But yeah, Scion, super strong pick here. Just going to be able to uh, live through everybody, and there's not a ton of sustained damage unless he just stands there and lets Viego hit him for like 30 seconds. It's going to be really hard for them to take him down. So absolutely love this pick, and I think it's 100% the right call to make here. As now we're seeing Reximus getting that vision down early has really cost him and Kitticus this lane, as Lulu and Jinx doing what they should be doing here, getting a lot of early pressure on this turret.
Yeah, it's a bit tough with the Taric into any ranged matchup, and especially as you mentioned, losing out on a little bit earlier on, trying to get that vision down means he did arrive to the lane late, which gives Spirit and Vicious that little bit of an extra push. Gotta feel that the excuse me. Will probably stay the same way as this game goes on, barring any major jungle intervention. But yeah, you said you wanted to see King Vivi start from the bot side of the map and head top melee. That is the way that King Vivi is doing. So perhaps in a few short moments, especially as Zero's getting a little bit dangerously up in his lane, perhaps we might see something going down in a few moments.
Yeah, and Reximus needs to know that Xin Zhao started top, right? Because he did have the ward on the Raptors, did see that. So these timers should be going off in their heads right now to say, hey, this lane is pushing, but we don't need to push with it, because Xin Zhao should be down here around the same time that Viego is getting to the top side. So don't overcommit to this, and I think they'll be just fine. And I like what Vicious and Spirit are doing here for DPS. They're letting this lane push into them. They got the good reset off of the turret, and now we're seeing the long play form out as... they might be getting caught out here.
The zap drop. Kitticus and Reximus finally realize what's going down now. The Dazzle will find its way onto 2, but it won't be enough as Rapid Samuel follows up with the flash. First blood goes way of DPS.
Yeah, he needed to flash those chompers. That's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm Taric. I'm gonna get my stun off, which he did, and he played that almost well, but you got to get that flash out. When Kitticus flashed, that should have been like a double flash instantaneous to get out of there. But unfortunate for JRCC that they give that away, knowing full well exactly where he should have been and where he was. And, props to Rapid Sammy for once again being all around the map and making the plays happen.
Yeah, and there's also no flashes in the bottom lane, neither for Kitticus nor Reximus. So you gotta imagine Rapid Sammy is probably going to be looking to head right back down to the bottom lane as soon as possible, as soon as it is convenient. Obviously, you gotta clear out a few of your camps before you go right back down, but so the point is, JRCC's bot lane have a really big target on their backs now.
Yeah, as they should, because Dragon's going to be coming up. This should be free for them. All they have to do is, like you said, have Xin Zhao clear down there, get the vision, get ahead, and with no flash on MF or Taric, this should be an easy... They can't contest with us, especially into a double range matchup like Lulu and Jinx. There should be tempo push on the bot lane into a clean tower. At the same time, though, TDD on this Greg is doing a good amount of damage into Zero.
He's getting them dangerously low. Obviously, Scion very not necessarily too concerned, especially since TDD is himself not exactly all that healthy, but it's an invade from King Vivi trying to find their way down onto Rapid Standing, trying to catch him out before he makes his way onto this bottom lane, but it won't quite be enough. It's traded back. Renegade going out to flash away from the charm, and now King Vivi, as the Xin Zhao, will look to dash forward once again. Renegade's gone very low. A few more auto attacks is all it will need for Lucifer to get the kill, and now the turn might be over to Vicious or Spirit. The charm finds its way down onto the Jinx, but the cleanse will mean Spirit is all right. The auto attack is coming through. DPS get the third kill of the game and the feats of warfare.
Yeah, and not a bad invade. The only problem was that Lucifer was not ready to get there in time, and so it ended up being a support and jungle, a level down support and jungle into the Xin Zhao and Mel. So just a little unfortunate, decent play, but just didn't end up turning out the way that they wanted, because MF could not rotate as fast as Spirit, and Ari couldn't rotate as fast as Mel. But they did end up picking up 2 kills, one of them going over to this Viego and another to Ari. So all in all, not terrible getting these kills onto some of these potential late game carries for the side of JRCC.
Yep, and as a result, JRCC, especially with how early Rapid Sammy ended up going down, they will pick up that Drake first, and now King Vivi just might be in the crosshairs of Rapid Sammy. They've got the push in the mid lane. King Vivi shouldn't be allowed to stay around much longer. Will be able to get away. It's looking a little bit scary though for the jungler of JRCC.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to when these team fights start and the bullet time comes down and it turns into Mel turning it around on the other side of this. Just a quick note. I'm so excited for this Mel pick. I absolutely love this champion and the counterplay that it goes. So not much to say about that last play. At least they all made it out alive. But
Not
yeah,
only that,
excited.
not only is there the rebuttal available to DPS, the Crescent Guard as well from Rapid Sammy really only helps himself if we're being completely honest, but it does, again, have that really big negating fact from the bullet time. You just press R in response to the opponent pressing R, and really you're just quite all right in the amount of space that the Crescent Guard can be able to buy for you on the Xin Zhao is really quite impressive. And I mean, Xin Zhao, I've covered it at least in game one, not quite recently if you are just tuning in, but Rapid Sammy on the Xin Zhao, I would personally say the Pantheon is a little bit more iconic for Rapid Sammy, but it's definitely up there in terms of champions that this guy could pilot.
All right, they need a little bit of patience here. Okay, King Vivi does end up stopping his back here, and he's going to be going in here. This should be a dead
The
two.
Dazzle finds its way down onto the Jinx, who flashes away and is able to get out for now, but is burning down very low, trying to fire a few auto attacks back into the JRCC bot lane and jungler. Only get a little touch of damage, but yeah, Spirit in the end is relatively okay, all things considered.
Yeah, and that was really good play, just bad execution of it. If King Vivi had just charged up and went straight in onto the Jinx as Tarek flashes forward, that's a double stun. There's no way Spirit makes it out of there, especially considering she sat under the MF ult the entire time. So good play, little bit bad execution, but hey, they did what I asked for in the draft is they decided to make a play and they went for it. So can't hate on them too much.
Ooh, Rapid Sammy might be in a little bit of trouble. Is the target of Lucifer and King Vivi. The stun won't quite come through though, and Rapid Sammy just walks his way out of there. Was hoping to be able to get a few chickens, but not quite.
Yeah, got away with that one there. You know, starting to Zero also trying to start the proxy now on the Scion, which inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, inevitable, and King Vivi does find him here. Unfortunately, Gragas isn't going to be able to be one of those champions that can get a lot out of it. It's going to be really hard to kill Zero and make him pay too much.
Lucifer is taking...
Lots
It's a
of damage.
decent chunk of damage goes down onto the Ahri, and with Golden Eclipse available for Renegade, got to be really careful that you're not just pressed R on by this melon. So he's quite all right, but for now we'll have to recall. Does have access to teleport, so won't miss out too much. But yeah, it was definitely looking like it could have been a little bit dangerous in the mid lane. Where it might be dangerous, King Vivi is showing up top, trying to find Zero. Won't be spotted just yet. Nice vision control, or at least vision work from the observer to keep things in suspense. King Vivi going to show their face now. Explosive cast sends Zero back into the alcove. Nowhere to go for the side. You got to feel any second now. King Vivi gets the kill onto the Scion, and we've got two Scions, and well, I mean, the amount of CCs available ensures that the zombie form Scion from Zero won't be able to kill the regular form Scion of King Vivi.
That's a lot of Scion. Oh,
it's
a little
yeah,
bit more,
yep.
Yeah, a little bit
Just
more.
add Nico and Shin, and we'll be able to have 5 of the same champion.
Yeah, a little bit of fighting over in the mid lane. Lucifer's going to have to start to be careful now because they are starting to really take a lot of damage from this Mel. Once this Blackfire is completed, those kind of trades that she's allowing to happen there are not going to be okay, and she's going to get whittled down pretty quick. So,
the rebuttal of the charm is perfect. Lucifer taking down to half HP. The Golden Eclipse will just kind of tickle Lucifer at this point in time, but the follow-up from Rapid Sammy tries to get the kill. The charm's back up off cooldown to hit the Xin Zhao. Lucifer is barely able to get out, and actually King Vivi has arrived. The Crescent Guard will try to buy space for Rapid Sammy, but the response from JRCC is just about as perfect as you could ask from them.
Yeah, what a play by Lucifer to just like the perfect flash timing as the audacious charge comes in, doesn't end up taking the damage, and just really good job at it, getting the charm, like having the wherewithal to say, okay, I can flash this, and then he's right in line, get the charm off. So I really like that play from Lucifer there. They need to get this dragon off the back of that, as this bot lane really needs to get here, as DPS's bot lane is posturing, but they shouldn't be able to steal this unless there's a strong Jinx ult, but not going to see that today.
Yeah, you really need a lot of distance to be able to pull off a few of those super mega death rocket steals, and distance that Spirit really didn't have. So second Drake goes away of JRCC. He prevents the feats of monster slaying going the way of DPS, at least for now. And actually, I think perhaps for the first time this series, GRCC have a goal lead. It's an insignificant one, but it is one nonetheless. But they look to expand it by trying to find the route to Rapid Sammy, but the response is to get the return kill onto Reximus. They finally, with the bullet time, get the kill down onto the opposing jungler, but Spirit now the target of JRCC. Lucifer gets that kill. Now the zap won't quite find Vicious, but once again, JRCC coming out on top of these fights.
Yeah, hell of a play there, hell of a call. Like, I really like the aggression that they showed there, and they said, hey, we can take this fight. Whoever the shot caller on JRCC woke up this game, and they're actually calling the plays. A little bit of a mismanagement of the mechanics of that, as Tarek, Reximus, hit your ult early, hit your ult often, and like you can never end up taking too much damage in the team fight. So I like the play call. They get what they want out of it, and now you got a little bit of gold inside the pockets of your carries, so it's time for them to start showing up and getting this lead and using it to translate into objectives and to other plays across the map.
Sorry, it's so annoying. Across the map, I don't really think King Vivi can do too much to zero.
Tarek and Ari are coming up though.
They're arriving. It'll take a little bit. Option might be for... Yep, there goes the flash. Well, I mean, it's worth. You got the flash out. Oh, wait. Whoa, that might not be worth. Lucifer chunked very low by Renegade. Waits for the rest of his team to arrive. Gets the smell very low. The CC is layered perfectly by JRCC. And they get yet another kill. King Vivi on a rampage.
Yeah, and I didn't see prior to that if the rebuttal was already used by a Renegade on this Mel, but... really good timing, and this is just like play after play, and these are how games sort of snowball out of control. So DPS, they need to remember that this game did start over, and it was 0-0, as now they have a 1.6k gold lead on the side of JRCC, and it looks like they're starting to take these fights in rapid succession, and DPS is going to have to be careful if they want to get a 2-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, real knowers know that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, and just might be finding its way into a little bit into the minds of DPS. However, this game's not over just yet. We're only 15 minutes through. JRCC have managed to garner themselves a gold advantage, and they're looking to expand. Lucifer not quite going to land a charm onto Rapid Sammy. Going to be cause a little bit of a headache, but now Reximus, yeah, never mind. That's a Lulu. I baited myself into believing something would happen there. That's my bad, guys. That's just.
Hey, Lulu has kill pressure. She's 102 right now. Okay.
That's valid. Point taken. No, but all the while, what is a bit important from that with the junglers showing in the bottom side, or Rapid Sammy specifically, it does mean King Vivi move straight up to the Rift Herald, and, well, they're taking it right now, but it's not quite as fast as they would have hoped. They finally claimed that, but Rapid Sammy was looking like maybe they could try to steal that away, but no, good response from King Vivi.
Yeah, and if that was any slower, Mel had all the prio in mid, the wave was all the way shoved up, and if they had known that he was there, they would have been able to collapse on that and then taken the rift. So they got to clean up their vision game. They have to clean up their macro and start playing this like they were playing game one. Get the slow, controlled movement along the map and start taking these objectives and being the first ones there, because we're seeing now whoever's the first one there is the one that is getting these objectives and getting the kills on the on the front end or the back end of these fights. So they got to be a little bit more careful. DPS looks like they're playing a little less clean as they did in game one, but with as clean as they've been all season, I wouldn't even be surprised if they got JRCC to throw this game somehow.
And all the while, I mean, Zero's been doing really good up in the top lanes. You mentioned first turret will go the way of JRCC, so we're looking next for the objectives to see who's able to get those fancy upgraded boots. But all the while, it was a little bit silent. You could kind of expect this gold lead to be a little bit larger for JRCC. Before we get to that, the target is the Jinx. The Wild Growth will be used down onto Spirit. Won't matter. Lucifer gets that kill, and it's now 9-4 the way of JRCC.
Yeah, but at the same time now they're giving DPS the opportunity to create a 50-50 situation for this dragon. This dragon is going to end up being the difference between feats of strength and not. So all 5 members from JRCC need to be here, as the 4 remaining members of DPS have already gotten here. But Lucifer with another strong charm.
Yep, finds its way down onto TDD, who will use an explosive cast to cause a lot of chaos in the DPS lineup. Now the response is to try to move their way forward, but the Tarek all drops its way onto multiple members. It buys time, but will it be enough time? Not quite. DPS get the double kill onto Renegade, and now they look to push a little bit further forward, try to buy as much space as they can off of these members of JRCC. Their health bars are quite low, though. They've got 2 really full health bars for Lucifer and Kitticus, the 2 main damage dealers of JRCC. So I gotta feel that DPS will opt to move away. No, not quite just yet. They're going to opt a teleport in down from Zero to be able to start up this Drake. He'll do his best to just stand in the way of these members of JRCC. Buy time for DPS to take this Drake, but it's not the quickest take ever. It's ticking down now, 6.5 HP. King Vivi can't quite find in a way without being spotted just yet. We'll try to get pushed away. Walking in now, we're not getting over this one. The move is now then onto King Vivi. Gets him low, not quite just yet. King Vivi gets out, but the health bar is very low on that Viego, but not without Vicious losing all of theirs. And so now the move from JRCC is to try to move their way in. This Drake is very low, 1k smited away. DPS gets the kill, and now Spirit's gone excited, dropping a few auto attacks down onto TTD, but this Gragas is very tanky. And so no kills go either way. All of that just for the the Drake to be taken by DPS.
Yeah, and I don't understand why King Vivi decided to go for the blue buff there instead of contest that. You literally just had your Gragas teleport in when he could have taken top lane. If you're going to give the Drake, give the Drake. I don't like that call. You guys have all of your carries who are actually ahead. And I didn't really get to see on the first part of that fight around the mid brush as to why Kitticus was so far back from the rest of his team and not getting any double ups or auto attacks in. That was a insane amount of lost DPS on that fight, and so they weren't able to get any kills, and they wasted a 4-man Taracle. He finally gets it off correctly. 4-man Taracle, they negated so much damage, and for some reason they weren't able to pick up that fight. So I want to see a little bit better positioning from Kitticus and to get in there and scrap it up a little bit.
Yeah, and so the gold advantage that JRCC had found themselves earlier is cut in half to, well, actually a little bit more than just in half to just around 500k. 500k, that would be insane. 500 gold. 500 gold here at 20 minutes, basically negligible. But a lot of that gold for the side of DPS is onto their carry. Specifically, Renegade has quite a lot of damage available to them with his Blackfire Torch completed and these fancy Magic Pin boots that aren't quite upgraded to tier 3 just yet, but the point still remains. A lot of damage available to Renegade. Otacon is started up very quickly by JRCC to try to catch DPS out, but Rapid Sammy is here. He does have a way in to be able to make this a 50-50. The Charm lands, Super Mega Death Rocket won't contest, and the Crescent Guard drops down. That's a steal, but not from Rapid Sammy. Renegade's the one to be able to get the Otacon away. Cosmic Radiance drops onto Reximus to get him out. Dazzle as well going to try to help out Reximus a little bit longer, but the bullet time drops over multiple members of Flashes away. Whoa! The Cosmic Radiance from Renegade eliminates 3 with one press of the R key. And that is, wow, that's a bit satisfying to watch. Woo!
Yeah, once again, King Vivi making like a bad I don't know. Like they need to be on the same page. I don't know how many times they've played Tarek in their scrims or during the season, but it does look like they picked this champ up, knowing how strong it would be into like a Xin Shao or Jinx or whatever, and just they're just not on the same page. King Vivi is ulting out as Reximus is popping the Tarek ult. You guys have to be on the same page. You need to get up there. If that bullet time was 30 seconds earlier when the Otacon was still up, you probably cleaned that fight up. So they just, JRCC, they have the tools to do this as they've shown over the first 18 minutes of this game, but they're just letting this one slip away with just bad execution of these team fights.
Yeah, it looked like for a moment that we were dreaming that JRCC could, I mean, not fully pull off the upset as it's only game 2, but, you know, take a game off the undefeated DPS, which would, in of itself, is a feat, even if they got eliminated here. But, I mean, that last fight alone just played so perfectly, and DPS now retake the gold lead. For the first time in quite a while, but considering how they played from an advantage last time around, I feel that it's a lot more difficult for JRCC now.
Yeah, that's about a 6.5K gold swing because they were almost 3K down and now they're 3K up. So, or just about 3K up. So,
Close enough.
big play plus the Otacon passive on the stacks. They have the 2 dragons. They have the first of the Mountain Soul stack now, and with the way that this game is going, it's not looking good, you know. And you can usually tell how games went by the types of dragons that were taken, and when like 1 or 2 of the dragons are taken early, but then like the next 3 or 4 are taken by the other team, you know that a team was ahead and gave it away. And that is the story that this game is telling right now. Zero is just stacking up this grasp over and over again. Yeah, the scaling on the side of DPS is absolutely insane, and this is going to be really hard for them to pull this one out.
Yeah, but the option is to move the way down onto Renegade, but the bullet time is stopped and the response comes through. Actually, it was not the bullet time. I must have saw something incorrect. My mistake, but the point still remains. DPS absolutely walk up and take away any hope JRCC had around this Drake spawning up. Reximus is down immediately, so the move will be on to this third Drake for DPS.
Yeah, and they had the Death Brush set up, and they get the Ari Charm off the bat, but then Reximus just a little bit too close, holding on to that ult for too long. It's just unfortunate to see because these fights could 100% be getting turned around, and Renegade is getting to the point now, especially after that triple kill, where they are extremely dangerous.
Oh, Kittikis and TDD in a bit of trouble. King Vivi will do their best to get them out. Dazzle finds its way down onto Ultimate. It's a good explosive cast finding its way onto Renegade. He's low, he's down from the Ignite, but will it matter? The rest of DPS are going strong. Spirit is excited. King Vivi's on the wrong side of the map. Won't quite go down, but the target is that tier 3 tower and the inhibitor. DPS starting to run away with this one. The Zap finds way onto Lucifer. The Flame Chompers get the Ari. It's only Kittikis and King Vivi left alive, but no ultimates available to either of them. DPS going to look to try to end game 2 as quickly as it looked like JRCC. We're looking to take this one.
Yeah, this one completely flipped on their head here. This is unfortunate if you're JRCC, but at this point you need to be thinking, okay, they outscale us. Turtling isn't really going to get us anywhere. We need to try to get a pick. We need to try to turn this tempo back the other way around. Maybe a Baron steal, something like that. Buy as much time as you can, and then go for this. Like they get a good look here onto Sammy, but not going to get it. But this is the time where they need to make some sort of hero play and then try to just rapidly turn these things around, get one kill after another, but that would also mean that DPS would have to afford them that opportunity, and I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, Barrett is up on the map. One more opportunity for DPS to push their lead even farther. It's crazy that we're talking about DPS running away with this game when literally just 2.5 minutes ago, JRCC had a gold lead for themselves. But the scaling has truly arrived for DPS with this Jinx, with the Scion, even Mel to an extent as well. They're online. They've got a gold lead late on, a pretty significant one at that, and The move now is to start up this Baron because they saw Reximus and Lucifer in the bottom side of the map. They do know they have a numbers advantage. They know they have the wallet advantage. King Vivi's not really here in time either. Baron's down to 7k HP. King Vivi's just showing up in their own side of the jungle. They're arriving now. Teleports will drop, and now the turn is onto TDD, taking him low, taking him down, but the Baron is now starting to heal back up, so there's still potentially a chance. Charm finds its way down onto the Meld. The rebuttal will buy a little bit more time. The bullet time comes over the top. Won't matter. Golden Eclipse does so much damage. Double kill goes the way of Rapid Sammy, and so any attempt JRCC throws at DPS, they won't find anything. It's a clean ace for the top team in the regular season here in Titan Gladiator League. Look to take game 2 and look to go within 1 game of advancing to the semifinals.
And DPS just showcasing that they can make some mistakes and they can go back to playing the way that they're supposed to, and they can do this correctly. This was JRCC's game to lose. They had the objectives, they had the boots, they were ahead in kills, they had a 2.7k gold lead at one point, I think it was, and then they just kind of let it go. So props to DPS for coming back, showing that they have the mental fortitude to just withstand. As we always talk about on here, is like weather the storm, and this was a storm that they had to weather. They fell behind, they were getting caught out, they weren't making good plays, and then they reset mentally, and we're like, okay, that's it, it's time to do this, now we're gonna do this. And JRCC did the exact opposite. They were making plays together, they were roaming together. What's his name? Reximus was looking really strong on the Taric, making good plays, and King Vivi was on the map looking like Sammy, just making plays happen and getting objectives, and then they just stopped doing what they were doing that was winning.
Yeah, things just kind of got out of hand from JRCC. They lost one fight, and then the scaling came online for DPS, and so that is that. Game 2, got a nice little bow tied up on top of it, going the way of DPS. We're going to see if DPS can close it out in 3 with a clean sweep when we come back, or if JRCC are able to put something up on the board and try to maybe spur a reverse sweep. But either way, we'll figure out after we return from a break. We are back for game 3 for a potential sweep coming up the way of dropping point Spartans over Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity, who, in the case of JRCC, have opted to stay on the red side for the 3rd time tonight.
That's a mouthful there. I don't, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. What do we call that?
Hold on, let me ring up my friend Albert real fast. I think he might know.
I don't hate it. You want the counter pick, but the problem is that no matter what they're throwing at 0, they're not really doing anything with that. Game 1, they kind of wasted it on an R5, waiting for that on the support role. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just more comfortable on the red side, and they're just losing these games because they're just getting outplayed by a more polished, well-oiled machine in DPS. But this is the time where your season is at its end potentially, and you have to throw anything that you can at the wall and try to make it stick. And that's what JRCC needs to do here. They need to go deep into their comfort pool, play whatever, screw the meta, screw what everybody else is doing in these leagues, and just try to pull one away from DPS, and then try to ride that momentum into game 4 potentially if you can. Other than that, if you end up losing this one, your season's over, but you want to put something onto the paper, for your stats and to get picked up by other teams as well. So, JRCC's backed into a corner, and we're going to see how they respond to it.
Yeah, and just a few little bit of a order of housekeeping here is that it was actually Bean MG in the top lane and not TDD27. We were just a bit assuming that it was TDD27, as that is their normal starting top laner, and they had streamer mode on, and so it only said the champion name. But no, we just got an update. It is in fact Bean MG in the top lane for JRCC, as just a little bit of extra bit of note as we get underway here in what could potentially be the final game tonight. And DPS once again are changing up the bans a little bit, opting for a Mumu as the takeaway.
Yeah, and I like what they're doing. They're sort of giving certain things over that they feel that they can contend with and they feel like they can deal with in here. I think that they would prefer to just get this game over with as cleanly as they can. And if I was JRCC game 2, I probably would have put King Vivi on a control jungle like an Amumu, like a Sejuani, something like that. That would add a lot of easy to pull off CC crowd control, especially for that MF on the backline. I think that like a Curse of the Sad Mummy would have been much better than a Viego stun for that. But as we see the first pick coming out, hopefully you blinked.
You didn't see anything. What was it was always Braum. It was always Braum. Yeah. It was never anything else. Either way, a bit odd. Whatever the case is, the response from JRCC will be immediately to lock in the Varus in response. Perhaps a little bit of an odd decision. Going to be pairing that alongside the Tom Kench.
I like the Varus Tom in the bot lane. Hopefully that's in the bot lane and not going top. Tom Kench, he's one of those champions. If you see it at Worlds, everybody wants to see him, but he doesn't get played in the pro play most of the times. But he adds so much safety, so much engage, so much tankiness, peel, everything that you want, and like a lot of damage as well. Coming out from there, the more you scale with health, the more damage you do. So I really like to see it. It's going to be a beefy pick. If it does end up going into the top lane, it's going to be facing an Ambessa, which is pretty hard, but ooh, the Poppy. I really like what JRCC is doing here, as they're trying to basically counter everything that they can that DPS is throwing at them.
Yeah, they've got a few dashes available on the side of DPS, especially with the Ambessa and how she gets 50 million of those because mobility creep. But yeah, they're able to just press W, throw up the steadfast presence, and completely deny any of that from what DPS has at least drafted so far is quite all right. They'll opt to pick up for themselves, as well as just probably just generally being able to use the Keeper's Verdict to be able to get numbers advantages in these team fights can also be a really good tool. It's not only the anti-dash that she has.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing King Vivi on this Poppy. I want to see him on a tanky engage. And in the late game, it's going to stop basically everybody. You're going to be able to, tunnel Braum into a spot where he won't be able to dash back to his friends. You'll be able to stop the Kaisa ult coming in and knock her up on the outside of it. You'll be able to stop the Ambessa coming through. Maybe not with the public execution, but on the back end of it when she wants to come in. And then the Syndra as a nice strong control mage in the mid lane is going to be answered by the Talia, so that's going to be an interesting matchup between Renegade and Lucifer. Lucifer has been winning the 1v1s early, but then falling off as they either get ganked and get into bad positions or whatever, but Syndra should be safe enough, and hopefully he can keep himself in line on the CS numbers and not fall down like 30 or 40 CS as the Briar's coming in as an answer to the Trundle. This is going to be a spicy game. We got a good draft coming out from JRCC. I don't know if it's like the best statistic-wise draft, but it is at least interesting and fun. And, they're going to be trying to make plays on this one. So I like the pickup. I like the answers that they had, but now they have to go out and execute it. And DPS has been so good at doing what they want in these games.
Yeah, and DPS, even with a little bit of a speed bump that they had in game 2, it was actually a little bit more than just a speed bump, but either way, they're doing their best. Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder impression there, going able to push their way through. But if we're being completely honest, it is going to be a Poppy in the top lane into the Ambessa. I don't quite know how that matchup entirely goes. This Poppy is a top laner, at least in my experience, that I've saw recently in like the past 2 or 3 years, maybe hasn't exactly been the best. And we'll see. BNMG opting it for themselves, but I can't recall the last time I've seen Briar play just ever. I forget that this is a champion, and I'm curious to see this because I'm trying to remember what this champion does, if I'm being completely honest. I'm a fake League of Legends player, I know. Yeah. But
so Briar in this
she taunts herself. This is all, all I remember.
She does taunt herself. She can break it with her E, but she does have a dash that can go over walls. She does have stun lock, and she has intense chase down potential. She gets a lot of speed, kind of like a Warwick does. And then her ultimate, when it hits somebody, it creates a huge ring. She dashes into that spot and immediately stun locks and fears everybody else around. So it's a huge team fight thing. She'll be able to come in through from anywhere on the map. It's a global presence, so I really like it. The only problem is it's a skill shot, and if you're not hitting it, then it's kind of wasted. Or if you hit the wrong person, you could end up putting yourself into a really bad spot. So King Vivi is going to have to pilot this well, and hopefully doesn't just put themselves in bad situations over and over again. But between the Poppy, the Briar, the Tom, they do have a lot of lockdown, and then put the Syndra and the Varus in there as well, especially if this Varus doesn't go poke. He'll have a lot of ability to just scrap and team fight. But one thing that Kiticus needs to do this game that he hasn't been able to do in these last 2 games is he needs to be able to get his attacks off. We saw with the MF where he was basically non-existent in some of those team fights, even though nobody was on him. And then in game 1 with the Caitlyn, just didn't use his auto attack potential for most of the game. So I would like to see a little bit stronger performance out of Kiticus, and if he has one, they can definitely take this and win, because they do have a very annoying comp to deal with that's going to be hard to team fight into.
Yeah, and also the amount of damage if Kiticus can auto attack on what looks like it's going to be an on-hit Varus build. Hopefully. Into a relatively short-range DPS team composition. He's allowed to auto attack away, just drop abilities in on top of them. The amount of damage that this Varus can do is definitely a little bit. It'll leave you a little bit terrified of him, as it were. But obviously, that is a big if. As you said, Kiticus, even on that Caitlyn game, was not quite spacing out their auto attacks to the best of the. Maybe I was going to say their ability, but we'll go with that. To the best of their potential ability in that sort of situation. So we'll just have to wait and see if JRCC can capitalize. But all the while, I was a little bit question about the Poppy top lane. So far, though, into the Ambessa, it's working quite nicely.
Yeah, and as a melee champion, her passive with the shield allows her to get basically free grass procs from range. I think it's a 350, if I might be mistaken, but I think that it goes to like a 350, which is almost a Sivir attack range to be able to hit that. So you just stay in the minion line, get your hits off. She's innately tanky, and then you just auto attack whenever it's up, and you get a lot of grass procs. So we should be seeing a huge difference between the two of them. And Bessa, it's going to be a lot harder for her to get hers off. This Poppy is just
That's a good heroic charge. But so are the minions returning. We'll get the shield back up by walking over it, but King Vivi now arriving in the top lane. I'll see Briar for the first time ever in League of Legends. Just dashes over the wall. A few auto attacks. First blood, but now in the mid lane, DRCC look to make it 2 onto Renegade, who has to flash away from Reximus. So once again, early on, things are going the way of JRCC.
Yeah, really, really good play. I love the roam, and especially since they put a ward down in the Tribrush a little bit late, they actually see the Trundle coming down, so Kitticus can be safe and not overextend there. And really good job by both of these champions, Reximus and King Vivi, to get these roams off, and a nice solid clean gank. Poppy hadn't even backed yet, so really good job by them to just make that play happen. And you see the immediate damage and lockdown that is on a Briar into this here. So good job, and this Poppy so far paying dividends for Bean MG up here in the top lane.
Yeah, they're playing it just about perfectly already, garnering themselves a non-insignificant gold lead or CS lead, and being coming back with the chain mail up. They're going to completely negating what Zero can do, who is now the target again. They saved Flash last time around. Will they use it now? Nope, they know they're gone. That's a second kill for King Vivi.
Yeah, and even if they had flashed there, the bleed from the Briar stacks are going to do a lot of damage. The Presti attack was hit off, and those bleeds are almost like a Darius, where like it just... it does a lot of damage that you don't really see coming until it's too late. So good job to go back up there. That's what I wanted to see out of King Vivi in game 1 and 2. I was calling for that jungle pressure now. And this bot lane, even though with a roaming Taric, once again, Kitticus, CS lead. Keep this up, and this is your path to victory here.
Yeah, and even though it is really good early signs from JRCC, pardon me for being a little bit hesitant considering how these games have gone. DPS, even though putting a little bit further behind now, about 1k down at 5 minutes, is definitely a significant lead that they've picked up for themselves. We've definitely seen DPS come back from bigger adversity so far, even in this series. So, even though it's going really well for JRCC, it's... I'm going to hold my breath for a little bit longer, but a nice abyssal dive finds its way onto both members of the bot lane. That's a 2v2 kill for the bot lane of JRCC. Kitticus are looking for a little bit more, taking down a decent amount of damage onto Vicious as well. So, yeah, once again, JRCC, they're really doing work down here.
Yeah, and this early game is not like the last one. The last one, they had like little leads here and there. They were making cross-map trades. This one, they are just winning in every single lane right now, except for kind of the mid lane. But Midwave has the prio for the Syndra. She pushed it out really well, and this should be a 100% secure dragon. And another thing too, picking the Poppy and that being your only tank into a Trundle is actually a really good thing, because Trundle, as we know, can shred tanks and steal all of their resistances and stuff. So especially late game, it's really, really hard to take down. But if Poppy's the only one, you can wait out that subjugate and then just do as much as you want to them.
It's a nice steadfast presence used by Bean MG, but Poppy doesn't exactly do all that much damage. It looks scary for a moment there, so sorry to cut you off, but
No, you're good. You're good. As the action comes, it's yours.
Oh, but it's coming now. Poppy going to have to flash away. Bean MG getting by the public execution. But just going to be able to say nah for a little bit. No flash on the Poppy though, and it is quite low. Zero's not going to push her luck. Just going to recall. Come back with a few more items.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that after this Blade of the Rune King pickup from Briar, that she goes into the Titanic. It's such a strong itemization on this champion. She gets a lot of innate tankiness from the Titanic, and I've been seeing that a lot more often. I don't play Briar myself because I have self-respect. So,
Standards.
it's but no. So I've been seeing a lot of Titanic rushes before that, and then you go into like the Sundered Sky into like Asterix or something like that. But yeah, the Blade of the Rune King gives her so many base stats and the attack speed and stuff like that. So it is a very very strong. It feeds into her self healing as well. So I do want to see King Vivi go a little tanky on this Briar after this first and second.
Speaking of King Vivi, they're going to walk into DPS wailing away on the grubs, and it's actually going to be separated now by the Talia ults. Not quite going to hit their own ult as King Vivi, but Poppy does so much, by so much time, does a lot of work for the rest of JRCC to arrive, picking up Rapid Sammy. At the very least, they will get one grub back, and at the very least for DPS, they did manage to pick up the majority of those, and will get those towards the total counts for the feats. But considering how things have gone so far, it's a very small consolation.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I don't really like on the side of DPS here so far is like this. Oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah, that's another kill in the bot lane. But this time around, it will be the first one going the way of DPS, specifically onto Spirit. So keep us now finally on the board. That Kitticus was left alone a little bit too long, and they take advantage.
Yeah, and I was gonna say like, as Reximus jumps on top of Spiritus, but it does have the ult potentially to save themselves.
Low gets the cleanse. I think Spirit should probably be okay, and they are.
Yeah, is when Tom is roaming. I know it's a Briar, but you need to be jumping up to the front of that minion wave and using your ult, getting this lockdown. You need to punish Kitticus on this Varus whenever Tom roams. So I'd like to see more of that. I like the dive. It was well executed, well done. They both get out of there alive, and they didn't have to blow all of their summoners for it. So if we can see more of that, that would be, really good for the side of DPS.
Is their way back in which they will need to find, but once again, Zero, no flash this time around. We'll use the public execution to maybe turn the other way around to get them closer to Rapid Sammy, who's just a little bit too far away as he throws up a pillar. This is best to intervene that fight, but it's just a little bit too late.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things that when you're playing into a Briar, you're like, I'm public execute. Oh, never mind. I literally just stunned myself. So when you ult into her and she has her, I think it's her W up, she's just going to stun you with her next auto attack, which is instantaneous. So, good job trying to get out of there, I guess. Zero's just having one of those games right now. And until he builds this Eclipse and maybe turns that into like a Black Cleaver afterwards, they need a couple of items before they're going to be able to do anything, because this is a 3-0 or a 103 Poppy, and it's going to be really hard for Zero to do anything into this matchup. I wouldn't mind seeing them actually do a lane swap here. Bring the Kaisa and Braum up to the top lane, concede this next dragon, and then play after that. But Ambessa's having a real rough time.
And it doesn't quite look like that's what they're going to do, as the next Drake spawns in 20 seconds and Zero's staying up there, still waiting things out, doing the best they can to survive. Instead of fighting them, speaking of Zero, we've seen Zero do this quite a few times. Just going to proxy, as they know everyone's on the bottom side of the map. Obviously has a lot of tools on that Ambessa to hop themselves away should they need to, but the charge finds its way down on Zero, gets them down to half HP. Zero just getting wailed away down here by Poppy. Does no damage to BeamNG, but what's more important is that Spirit is deleted by the JRCC bot lane, and Jungler Vicious not going to get away either. The Weaver's Wall finally going to arrive and actually get a few tower shots down onto the enemy ADC. Kitticus taken down. Reximus will pop the shield in time, and it just might buy enough time for Lucifer to arrive. Clean this fight up. Really well done by JRCC. Very well baited in by Reximus, and that's an ace to the Calypso's Calamity.
Yeah, we didn't see how that fight started, but we did see how it ended, and they were chunked out pretty hard. Reximus coming in here and then doing the good job of saving. That's a 600 bounty now. I think it was 500 before that fight started. But yeah, that would have been a huge shutdown going over to Spirit had it actually or not Spirit, over to Rapid Sammy had it gone on. So I guess so here comes the replay. We're gonna see how this one ended up starting. No,
Okay. So they got a kill onto Kitty. No, that's a bit
this is
too
a little
far.
bit
Yeah,
too
that
far
was.
back.
We'll get it eventually. Yeah, we saw
yeah.
this as well on stream. Spirit cleanses. Yeah, well, hold on. We're moving through it real quick.
To super fast speed for you guys here. 'Cause
Eventually,
we really
yeah,
need to
there's the
see
kill in the
how
top
this
lane
one
onto
develops.
0. Yeah. Wait.
Once
Okay.
Ambessa starts proxying here, which I think is this next wave. Yeah, this is right before we ended up going over to the Ambessa. So we see that Briar is waiting out in the wings here. I'm going to assume that it's a Tahm Kench engage alongside of a Briar ult with the lockdown, but we'll see here.
Probably, right? This is looking like it. Is it coming?
Oh, okay.
There we go. Ah! I see. Vicious just walks too far forward.
Yeah, and at the same time, on the bot side of that fight, Kitticus just absolutely demolishes Kaisen. And like I said, good pullout, but they do end up getting the return kill onto the Varus, and Reximus just barely surviving here. I'm assuming that's Triumph stacks because he was completely out of shield there. So good job on him to get out, and yeah, just a well-coordinated play. I mean, they took a long time to do it, but that was a huge... Oh my gosh.
Whoa. Just catching back up to live while we're at it, but
huge payoff for the wait on the side of JRCC.
And so after all that, it was a little bit more anticlimactic than expected in the payout of things, but the point still, the result is still the same. JRCC now up quite a significant amount of gold, around 5K if I've done my math correctly. At 14 minutes is very difficult to come back from. Shove not going to get the Syndra under tower. Now the public execution going to find its way down onto Bean MG, who does not do a lot of damage on this Poppy on their own. So the shutdown goes the way of Rapid Sammy.
Yeah, and I don't know if Trundle had walked over that ward or if he came straight through the jungle there, but Bean's gonna have to do a better job of warding, especially when you're playing from ahead. You know that these shutdowns are exactly what DPS need to get back into this game, and now that's a huge amount of CS, which is probably losing their CS lead here that they had, and then also like giving that shutdown over to Trundle. He's going to be very, very strong and hard to deal with here, but King Vivi does want to get this back.
Vivi
and she will. Like,
so fed. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That
yeah,
is, I believe, a 7-0-1, 7-0-1 Briar, I think. We eventually get the scoreboard back up. We'll be able to tell, but the way we move, King Vivi is super fed.
Yeah, and I like what Rapid Sammy is doing here. Even though they're behind, he's still trying to make plays, trying to get around the map, trying to shore up some of these bounties and set up for these objectives that are coming up, soon. Like the Dragon, obviously, well, Dragon's not coming up soon, but they are at least looking for avenues of approach to be able to turn some of these fights and make them a 3v2 and get some ganks off. But Lucifer on this.
Oh, yeah, that's a decent amount of damage down onto... Oh, okay, solo kill for Lucifer. Going to land the extra Q at the end there as a little cherry on top for the side of JRCC, getting up to a little good business here. And that will free up the side of JRCC to just move straight on to the Rift Herald without any concerns whatsoever.
Yeah, man, just time after time, and this is why we see Syndra banned so often in these leagues, especially lower on, because not a lot of people are able to deal with this artillery-style long-range poke, and she's a very easy champion to pilot. So this is why we see it banned so much, and we're seeing it right here. The Renegade is having a tough time with this Talia. I think it was a good answer potentially to the Poppy or Briar, but not when they're as fed as they are. Bean's getting a little bit too close to the tower again and is going to have to try to get out of here.
Yeah, the target of Rapid Sammy will flash away from the public execution, and now it's a really good keeper's verdict to yeet away the top jungle of DPS. Hold on. The ult from King Vivi not quite going to land, but I don't think it'll matter. Spirit burst down to half HP by Lucifer, but now the target is Vicious. And finally, Kitticus going to throw a piercing arrow down. And that will be another kill going the way of JRCC. Up 6K gold now at 16 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunate for Braum there. Just, I think, panicked a little bit, was trying to W to the Kaisa and put a shield up at the same time. Just ended up facing the wrong way. So all of that Varus damage and all of that Briar damage just coming in there is now Renegade.
Renegade. Yep, just a few more auto attacks or at the Q from Lucifer. Want to find the kill again. So 14-3 goes to JRCC, and so far it's been a very clinical performance. It might be a potential dive, but actually Beam and G taking a decent chunk of damage there, so won't ought to continue that dive, but still kind of indicative of how things are going, that Beam MG feels like they could even just walk forward like that, that they feel like they're even allowed to do that in the first place is a bit wild.
Yeah, and as the JRCC taking a couple of resets here, going to spend some of this money before this dragon comes up in the next 10 seconds. And we see here two deathless champions. You have the Briar and
Kitticus having to flash away. Seismic shove finds the target onto the Varus, now down to half HP. The shove away from Bobby will try to keep Kitticus alive, but Renegade's able to turn that around. But here comes the rest of JRCC. Another really good seismic shove by Simon for DPS. They're looking for a little bit more. The exhaust perfectly timed down onto Lucifer. Now the response from JRCC comes through. The healing from King Vivi is not quite enough. Shutdown goes the way of Zero. Bobby will do their best to turn things around, but it's not quite enough. Lucifer, at the very least, will get a kill for themselves, but Spirit's going forward, will use a killer instinct, get himself a shield up. Won't quite be enough to keep him alive, but it does set up for Rapid Sammy to walk forward. Another really good seismic shove from Renegade will get some time. The Abyssal dive from Maximus will be used to escape, but there are signs of life for DPS. They look for a little bit more. Maximus getting very low, but I think he'll get out.
That was a little bit too greedy, and this is one of those, like, the play is over, let it go moments for both of these teams. Both of them just overextending a little bit too much. I know you want the Dragons, but...
Teleport's dropping? Chains of Corruption not quite finding the mark, but the drop down, the shove puts Rapid Sammy into a stun into the wall. Seraph's Embrace going to be taken away from the Talia, but now Rapid Sammy looks to turn on to Varus. Not quite going to have the damage, and now JRCC have arrived. So not going to be Renegade trying to find anything more. It's a bit of an odd way of saying it. King BB's looking for this really low health Talia, taken down to about 3/4 HP from just one seismic shove, but he's fine.
Yeah, and sticking around here a little bit long is sitting on Vision.
Staying.
I think they just kind of want this this jungle from them, and once they start taking some of these free resources around the map away from Rapid Sammy, that's going to be really hard for him to start to come back. Trundle does need items. He does need to be able to stay up on the XP and everything, because if he starts to fall behind, a Triforce and part of a Dead Man's Plate is not going to be enough to survive these engagements for very long. So good job from JRCC to just sort of take as much as they can away from DPS when they're giving these opportunities. And DPS need to get back to their game plan. They need to sort of try to wait for a good 5v5. They need to wait for their ultimates to be up, and they need to find Zero a way to get a public execution onto the backline of Varus. Meanwhile, keeping Kaisa safe and maybe doing like a complete 3 to 4 man dive into the backline here.
Yeah, and it's would be what's required of DPS to be able to come back into this one, and it is a very difficult spot for them as they are still down 5k gold at the 20-minute mark, but they've alleviated a little bit of the bleeding now up until this point. Otacon on the map though, so all the teams are going to turn their attention towards this neutral objective. It is definitely a very big potential throwing point, and one that last time around DPS did manage to find a way back into, and it just might be that way again. Bean MG, the target of DPS, and they do find the DPS down onto this Poppy, so they start up the Otacon, but King Vivi is still alive and is very dangerous if they can find a way in. Doesn't matter that the numbers advantage and health bars are still full for DPS. It's certainly not over just yet. Otacon down to half HP. 3k now. Will there be a way in for JRCC? Will they try to find it? It's a really good public execution onto the King Vivi, which Kitticus is able to turn around, get the kill onto the Ambessa, and Kitticus free firing away, getting a lot of damage down, so 2 for 2 for now. but the Otacon, it still ended up going the way of DPS. They managed to sneak that away. Lucifer might be a little bit too low, wrong side of the map, but they shove over Spirit. That sets up the kill for Kitticus, yet another one. Now on a rampage on the Varus, whose auto attack speed was going wild there for a moment, and the damage that we were talking about that this Varus can do at the start of the game is finally coming online and doing a ton of work here.
Yeah, and unfortunate for that one, BeamG just missing the keeper's verdict onto the teleporting Talia. That fight could have gone way differently if the Poppy was still alive, but they got to stop getting caught out. There is roam potential from Renegade, obviously, on this Talia. Can, ride the wave or ride the wall all the way up, but they are going to get some objectives on the back end there, but that is... I mean, it's almost malfeasance at this point for them to be able to give away an Otacon when they're 2 dragons and boots, and it was, 9-20 at that point for the scoreboard. So, yeah, that is a huge win for DPS to try to claw their way back into this game. They do have decent scaling, and that Otacon and the passive stats that come with it are potentially going to be huge. So that's a real big blunder for JRCC to have a death at that point and give that away.
Yeah, it's one that I feel is like a pretty big defining factor between these two teams, because even if JRCC send us to a game 4 and prevent themselves from getting swept, it's not nearly been as clean in these last few moments, because you feel like if DPS was given a similar sort of lead, there would just be no chance whatsoever for whoever their opponents were. In this case, it's JRCC, who have not fully slipped up just yet. They are still about 5k gold in the lead, but they haven't been able to really blow open this lead that they've gotten for themselves, especially as this time has gone on. These fights have been a little bit less and less clean as more and more members arrive to them. It's a little bit concerning. It's far from over though, and I'd still say the ball is well within their court, and they're still in control of this game, but the signs of doubt are creeping back in, especially with how game 2 went.
Yeah, and I think, too, now we're starting to see that the Zambessa, even though she was so far behind the Poppy earlier on, has caught back up, has a 13 CS lead now, can push these waves with impunity, and there's not really much Poppy can do because she's got a Fimble Winter and an Iceborne Gauntlet, and she's starting to lose these small skirmish trades on the front end here, but... sitting around on top of a ward
is going to try to find their way in onto Spirit, who will use the hunters, the ult to get away. But now the return from side of DPS, we got a little freeze coming through. Kitticus does so much damage though. It doesn't matter that King VV went a little bit too far. The exhaust finds his way down onto a Poppy, so that's not really going to stop too much as JRCC look to push forward, look to find this fight even further. Renegade will do their best to try to keep the enemy members away at bay, but he's doing only so much. Now that Spirit and Renegade are very low, they have to back away, concede this Drake, or not actually going to go to the Drake. Actually, they're just going to recall and not look to push their advantage any further.
No, I think they're going to reset. They know that the Trundle is going to be up. They do push it pretty fast, but you can't guarantee it without the smite. So I think this is kind of the right play to reset, spend some of this money on Kitticus, and I will have to give props to JRCC this game because they are giving space to Kitticus to be able to free fire from the back line. And you see, once he starts getting a couple stacks, the amount of damage that this on-hit Varus does is insane. And they're playing this comp really well. The only thing is that King Vivi on this Briar does have a tendency to sort of herself, and we see when Spirit has all of their summoners and their flash and everything else up, and they have the Braum to sort of like get back in there, it's getting hard for King Vivi to be able to take out this Kai'Sa, so they're gonna need at least another item. And I love this call. They know that they're at the dragon, or that they want the dragon, so they're going for this, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, Baron started up. They do have a very quick take. Despite their deficit, Baron's down to 1.5k, now smited away, but the fight coming through. Can JRCC get the fight on the back end of it? Renegade's gone low, but the Renegade's still alive. The Scatter of the Weak finds way onto multiple members, but Spirit's free firing away, doing their best to keep things around, but so is Kitticus, who is healthy, who does so much damage, is pressing forward, trying to find Vicious now. One more auto attack's all that's necessary. King Vivi now just going to find an isolated Renegade to be able to claim that down. Vicious does manage to escape, and even though DPS pull off the heist, it comes at the cost of a large portion of their team.
Yeah, but still, you gotta love it. Yeah, that's one of those things where you like, that's the big balls call right there, and it pays off in the end. I know they lose 3, but they get 2 on the back end, and they still have a 50-50 at this dragon because JRCC didn't pull the trigger the first time. So Rapid Sammy, it's time for him to make his hero play and try to get into here. It's gonna be him and Braum, and he has been shredding the members. Yeah, lack of vision.
I don't think you go for this.
Problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a chance anyways. Varus
didn't have the vision. This also seems like it'd be a little bit, a lot to commit to prevent Soul Point. Obviously, Soul Point is nice to have because, you know, you could use that extra like pressure of the threat of the Soul going the way of JRCC, but it still requires that next Drake over and be able to try to throw that away to flash over blindly and smite it. It's asking a little bit much, even for Rapid Sammy. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and now Cloud Drake Soul Point is on JRCC. If they get this, that's a huge boon for them. Every single one of their members wants that Cloud Soul, and they want the passive that comes with it. After using your ult, especially King Vivi on this Briar is going to be so freaking fast. It's going to be like they have nothing but move speed items on their on their belt. So yeah, this is getting really close to the point where these types of plays from DPS, the Otacon call, the Baron call, may be what saves them, and it may be their way back into this game and to try to make an upset of Game 3 and get the sweep. But they're also going to have to find a way to get on top of Kitticus, because him on this Varus has been using his spacing really well. They've been doing a good job disengaging for him, and if they can't get to him, none of these fights are going to go their way. He is outscaling the Kai'Sa. He's doing way more damage than the Kai'Sa, and they cannot get on top of him, and anybody that goes near him is just dying quickly.
9, 3, and 4 on the Varus is Kitticus, and you've pretty much covered it perfectly. That the amount of space and time he's been given. Also going a little bit tanky with his build, which I'm going to assume is probably going to be the experimental hex plate. I believe it builds out of. Wait, does it build out of Giant's build? Oh shoot. Either way, point is he's using this advantage that he has in terms of items and strength to be.
He's probably going
even
Jack
if they
shows.
do.
That's
Jack shows is probably
yeah.
That would also probably make a little bit more sense as well to just keep him alive a little bit longer. He already does so much damage as is. He doesn't necessarily need any more. But yeah, Kitticus is. Oh wait, before we get onto the talk of Kitticus, Spirit is tagged by the Scatter of the Weak and taken low, and the rest of the fight is completely a formality. Kitticus getting yet another kill, Spirit taken out of it, so there's no damage coming through from DPS despite what their names might be. ARCC, we've just got an update. I don't know the exact, but it sounded like a really big number. 2.64. It's up over the attack speed cap with the lethal tempo coming through. He's throwing the damage out
and Bess is caught
very
on the
quickly.
side here too. Tried to teleport in, but missed out. Lucifer,
but it might not be over. He finds his way on top of Lucifer. But King BB is here to try to turn it around, at least make it a 1-for-1. And yeah, that is
10 out of 10.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Lucifer got a little bit too close. They did try to they did stop the teleport, so that's a huge cooldown as well. And Bessa's split push power isn't going to be there as much because she's going to have to be near this Drake when it spawns, or the Baron if they try to go for another cheeky trade. But Cloud Soul is probably a lot more important than the Baron, so I would like to see DPS try to stall this out and get a good team fight, and then try to take that on the back end as they get another little objective, a little bit of global gold back into their pocket as the top lane turret does finally fall to the minions. But yeah, JRCC in complete control of this game. They just need to make sure that they don't throw this one away.
What is a bit tough for DPS as well is that the Drake and the Baron are spawning up at the exact same time. They might have found Bean MG, but he's very tanky. Devour will be used though by Reximus, so that's a pretty big cooldown going to be unavailable for JRCC. If a fight should break out within the next few moments, and we expect that it might be able to, is again these objectives spawning up in less than a minute, and Devour has a decently long cooldown.
Yeah, and it looks like DPS is trying to posture for the Baron. I think they're going to try to trade this and then maybe go for an Elder Flip on the back end. They're also trying to Death Brush here, but I don't know if JRCC is going to fall for this. The only one that might is probably the Poppy. That was greedy recalls. We saw that yesterday. There was probably like 7 different times in the 5 games that we watched where greedy recalls cost everything.
Reximus is the target of DPS. An isolated Tom Kinch comes through, and now Kitticus has to flash away, but the collapse from King Vivi tries to find Renegade, but we want to move over. Shut down onto Kitticus. Goes the way of DPS. Is this the fight that they need? But it's a really good ult away from Bean MG. It was looking really bad for JRCC, but they buy the time. Spirit is able to use the overcharge to get away, but the collapse now from DPS has arrived down onto Bean MG. They won't quite find the kill. Renegade will look over to Lucifer. Won't quite get the scatter rig down onto the Talia, but it's a really good fight for the way of DPS. They have the push in the mid lane. There is no way. Surely they don't, and they won't. They'll back away from the mid lane. I had a heart attack for a moment there. There was, you see the push in the mid lane. You see 3 members down. It's like, do they end off that? But no, we're fine. They'll just move over to the Drake. They'll take their victories while they can, and they'll look to come back a little bit later.
Yeah, this bot lane from JRCC absolutely throwing this game here. They, like, Kitticus, for one, doing that greedy recall in the center almost through the game there. And then without Reximus being able to provide any sort of peel for him, Kitticus, we saw what happens when the public execution comes in. They just... Ambessa still does a lot of damage, and then the follow-up from Spirit, and then really good job kiting on Spirit. She was caught probably 2 or 3 different times in that elongated fight, but just couldn't get the finish off onto the Kaisa. So now here's a Baron flip that could be coming through as they do have the initial vision advantage on the side of JRCC, and they do have the posture, and Ambessa without teleport is going bot. I think once they see her, they're going to start this, or I guess they're just going to start it right away.
Right now, they have a relatively quick take, especially with Kitticus. He should be shredding through that Baron, but DPS definitely know that it started up down to 8k HP. Scattered Weak not quite going to find anybody. The tentative push in the minefield finds way onto multiple members. Poppy going to be bursted low, taken down. It's stolen away by Vicious. Are you kidding me? I do not believe it. And now the public execution goes into the back line trying to find Reximus, who will shield himself up for a little bit longer. And it might actually be enough. King Vivi does quite a bit of damage. Weaver's Wall will be used to separate out the teams. Rapid Sammy biting down away on Lucifer. King Vivi also flashing away, but Rapid Sammy will be taken down quite low. The Rex is still away, but I don't. Vicious, how? What? I don't. Vicious, the Braum stole the Baron. Oh, no kills either way, but okay, what in the world happened? How does Vicious steal this? This has to be some licorice level against a Freak style of steal, because my goodness, there is no shot that TPS should have been able to take away this Baron. How does he do this?
Oh, he smited too early. King Vivi smites too early.
Yeah, but what did the damage from Braum? Where did that come from? Oh, the Glacial
on top of
Fissure.
Reximus. Yeah, Glacial Fissure hits on Reximus and carries on through to the Baron. Now they do sort of clean this up and kind of get away, barely. Once again, Reximus recalling in a bad spot, and I actually thought that Lucifer and Kitticus were going to get caught on the north end of this fight as well, but they get out by the skin of their teeth. But this game is completely flipping around into DPS's favor now, and JRCC, they still have a way to win this one, but they have to start playing this a little bit smarter. They have to stop getting caught out. They have to start team fighting and going back to what they were doing in the beginning that was working.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if you could say you go back to what they're doing, what was working, because what they were doing was working specifically because they had such a huge gold advantage, which has completely just disappeared now. Absolutely even at 35.5 minutes, DPS have come back in a huge way. Not specifically only on the backs of Vicious, but that was definitely a really big moment just in general. It's just not been all that clean from JRCC. There's just been too many small mistakes in which Kittikis has gotten caught, which Reximus has been a little bit too far up, and just generally, really all the members of JRCC. I picked on them first because they were the first ones that came to mind that I saw from that previous fight, but the point still stands. There's just been too many small moments of like
mental booms.
just issues where they're just in odd spots for seemingly no apparent reason. But speaking of odd spots, King Vivi could be in one themselves, but they've bought in quite a bit of time. The death stance will keep them alive for a little bit longer. They finally go down. Spirit gets that kill. Double kill goes the way of the Kaisa. Kittikis once again too far up, trying to save his jungler, and so there's only 3 members left of JRCC. For the first time all game, DPS have taken a gold lead. It cams at 36 minutes, but that's all you need. They're pushing into the base. They're looking in. Lucifer does have a decent amount of damage if they try to find a fight, but the burst drops down onto Reximus, who shields himself up. Shutdown picked up by Lucifer. It's a lot of time getting bought by JRCC. In fairness, Lucifer gets a second shutdown going their way, but the seismic shove drops and Spirit finds his way down onto the Syndra, so there's nothing left in the tank for JRCC from about 10k gold down. Dropping points, Spartans sweep this series, and that is a tough one to take if you're the Calypso's Calamity.
That was... I don't want to sound like I'm biased here, but JRCC, I was pulling for them there. They had that game won. And the DPS they just kept it going clean. As you were saying, like, not just the mental mistakes, but the mechanical mistakes too. The getting too close by Kittikis, the scatter the weeks missing time and time again on by Lucifer, like, just a little bit too much. Maybe they were just getting a little too tense, too nervous. Like, they were like, hey, we can win this, and you know how it gets, and the next thing you know, everything that you were doing in the beginning that was working, when you were hitting your skill shots, when you were hitting your ults, when you were making the good decisions, like one bad decision after another. I think that the first Baron call by DPS just completely threw them for a loop. And although they got the 3 kills on the back end of it, and they sort of won that team fight 3-2, I think that just planted the seed there. And from that point on, it just seemed like LRCC, instead of grouping as 5, they decided, oh, here's an Ambessa by herself. But now this Ambessa has 4 or 5 items, and so they just weren't able to do enough there. So unfortunate for JRCC. They put up a hell of a fight, but also props to DPS for keeping their head on a swivel and just keeping it secured to where it needed to be, and keeping their mental this entire game, and not just giving in and saying, okay, screw it, we'll just go to game 4. Taking the series 3-0, making a definitive statement. We are the 1 seed. We were undefeated for a reason, and we're here to play. So they move on, and unfortunately for JRCC, their season is done here, but it was entertaining, especially that game 3. Hats off to both of these teams.
Yeah, so I think with that, we'll be calling it here for tonight. Jolly Rogers, Calypso's Calamity. Sorry, DPS. Oh, we've got a few check up. We might get some results from elsewhere. Okay. Well, we will be sending over for more Titan Gladiator League action, so I guess don't go anywhere, because there's still a bit more to take in here in Gladiator League. But for this broadcast specifically, that'll be it from us. I've been Isaac. Alongside me has been Fel. Sheridan's working the magic behind the scenes, bringing you a few of those replays, as wonderful as ever. And so that'll be it from us. Have a good night, and we'll see you over into the Titan stream. And also, extra note from Sheridan, say hello to Golden for us.